Good afternoon. We are glad you're watching. This is NTV at 1. My name is OLive Burrows. The election of the Law Society of Kenya male representative to the Judicial Service Commission started early today as lawyers trooped to various voting centers across the country to cast their ballot. In Nairobi, most polling stations, including at the Supreme Court and the Milimani Law Court, were opened as early as 8 a.m. The race has attracted 3 candidates, including the incumbent Professor Tom Ojenda and the former Independent Policing Oversight Authority Chair Njeru Macharia, as well as another candidate. NTV's Silas Apollo has been covering the event and now joins us live from the Supreme Court with the latest. Silas, what is the latest?
Yes, Olive, it's been quite a busy day here at the Supreme Court, which is one of the polling centers for the elections of the Law Society of Kenya. Of course, the other, as you've just said, it is Milimani Law Courts. Lawyers have been streaming in here. Of course, lawyers are both those who also serve in the public service, lawyers from various sectors across the country. It's been quite an interesting day. We've been able to speak to a number of contestants in the race. Of course, also speak to the IEBC, who has expressed confidence in the conduct of the election today, saying all has been going on smoothly. There's been a bit of hiccup here in the morning after a number of lawyers protested a lack of the manual register for voters, which they said had the names of all the representatives, because there was a technical issue in the online register. Of course, that was an issue that was addressed, and so the voting has been going on pretty smoothly. The most interesting one, of course, is that it comes in the wake of the decision by the High Court to allow Professor Tom Ojenda to vie. You remember Professor Tom Ojenda had been having issues in terms of clearance with the KRA. KRA had refused to give him a clearance certificate, arguing that he had evaded tax running into for around 400 million shillings plus. Of course, the matter went to court, and it's been a legal battle back and forth with the courts. The Law Society of Kenya Council, of course, later cleared him after the High Court gave him the green light. He was one of the people who were here today in the morning. He cast his ballot sometimes early today in the morning. The other candidate is Njeru Macharia, of course, who is the former chairman of the IPOA, who was also here today. We managed to speak to them in our earlier bulletins, and the arguments that they were making is that they're confident that the votes today will go on smoothly. Of course, both of them are expressing confidence that they're going to win the elections. One of the candidates also had withdrawn, that is Mr. Gathi, a human rights lawyer. We also spoke to him about some of these reasons why he decided to step out of the race. He argues it's part of the regional balance, and there was a consensus from people from his backyard and even some of the lawyers that were supporting him that he should step aside and allow others to contest for the race. So it's been a pretty busy day here at the Supreme Court. The exercise is also ongoing countrywide. A number of lawyers are voting in various parts of the country. We also earlier had former AG Githu Muigai also coming here to vote. Just a few minutes ago, we had a number of MPs who are also lawyers like Otiende Amolo and David Oching of Ugenya, and also Tom Kajwang coming to vote and casting their vote just a few minutes ago. So we expect the process to close down, the voting to close at around 5:30 or thereabout. LSK, for your information, has about 10,000 members. We are not sure on the number of expectation in terms of the voter turnouts today. Those are figures the IBC could be giving us later on in the evening as they count the vote. So we'll be keeping tabs just to let you know what happens. Back to you, Olive.
Thank you for that update, Silas Apollo. Now, the third candidate in that race is an advocate by the name of Charles Ongoto. We now cross over to Alex Mwangi. Alex, you've been covering the transport CS, James Macharia?
Yes, I've been covering there's been a contract signing here for 3 organizations that are traders organizations, and they deal with some of them are matatu drivers and some of them are businessmen in the SME sector. And this is about the affordable housing program. And we are here in Park Road, just right next to Park Road, on a 9-acre parcel of land where the government is building 1,370 units for the affordable housing program. With me here is the Principal Secretary for Urban Housing and Development, Charles Hinga, who's going to tell us more about what is going on around this place. Welcome, Charles.
Thank you very much.
Kindly tell us what it is that was happening today here.
So today is a historic day in this country because one, we have come and witnessed the bar that we have set in terms of the delivery of these houses. I know people have been asking, with the remaining period, how are we going to be able to deliver this number of houses? Behind me, as you can see, this is Block A of Park Road development. This one is going to be completed by September. You will have homeowners with keys, and those homeowners are going to be the face of this country. So that is the first very historic thing. This construction site has been ongoing only for 2.5 months. It's a 24-hour operation. We are showing Kenyans that there is capacity in this country to be able to scale and do things quality, but also on time. The second important part of this day, witnessing the signing of our SMEs with the contractor, with the developer, to supply all the doors, both the wooden and the metallic doors, for a value of 122 million shillings. 122 million shillings with no middlemen. This is money that is going to go directly to the creators of employment. 80% of our people are employed by SMEs. So today we have demonstrated that this is no longer just about talk show. We are serious about this. This is a historic day for this country.
Just to confirm, so far with this project being a flagship project for the government as far as the Big Four agenda is concerned, how much money have you mobilized for this project, and how much of it comes from international lenders and local lenders?
This particular project is funded by the developer. We are not paying any certificates. The developer will put up this building from the beginning with their own money, and when they give me keys behind here for the first 228 units, I'll have my check ready to buy those houses on behalf of Kenyans. Then we will finance Kenyans at affordable rates to be able to own these houses. Now, this project is just slightly under 5 billion. It's about 4.95 billion shillings, and all of it is the developer who has financed this particular program. Now, in terms of local participation, 70% of all the materials that are going to be used on this site have been sourced locally. Cement, steel. Overall, this entire project is going to require me to have 44 million bags of cement. It's going to require me to have 18 million bars of steel. It's going to require me to have 5 million kilograms of nails. Those are things that are going to be produced here. For a country where we are saying, yes, the statistics are showing the GDP is growing, but people are feeling that the economy is not working for them, this is the way to grow the economy.
Thank you very much, Charles. That was the Principal Secretary for Urban Housing and Development. As you have heard, that is what is taking place at this site. The first batch of houses, 228 houses, are set to be ready by the end of September. And so we are going to see whether that is going to be achieved. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Alex. Alex taking his safety seriously, as he should, donning a hard hat. Now, this next one is going to be a bit of a tongue twister. Police have arrested members of a gold trading syndicate that conned US and Indian nationals close to 7 million Kenyan shillings. Kenyan Muhammad Abakar Rashi, Yulian Petrov Stankov, a Bulgarian national, and Matthews Jr. Ruben, an American national, were apprehended at the Junction Mall within Lavington. The three suspects conned Swatantar Kumar Chauhan, a US national, and Lakshmi Narayan Jindal, an Indian national who had traveled into the country to buy gold, but upon arrival was shortchanged, ending up losing 6.9 million shillings to the syndicate. Abakar and Petrov have been positively identified by the victims as part of the syndicate. To the courts now. Senior counsel Paul Mwite has denied representing the Kenya Bureau of Standards in a murder case where the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, wants him disqualified for conflict of interest. Mwite is representing businessman Benson Oduor, who was charged alongside former KEBS Managing Director Charles Ongwae, together with others, with attempted murder for allegedly releasing contaminated fertilizer into the Kenyan market. The senior counsel told the court that the DPP had not attached any proof that he had represented KEBS before. In the case, the DPP, through State Prosecutor Victor Witi, argued that Mwite had represented KEBS in other disputes and was therefore privy to confidential information and witness statements. The case will be mentioned next week before Milimani Court Magistrate Kennedy Choriot. Staying with KEBS, a proposed law which will, among other things, increase the level of punishment for those dealing in substandard, illegal or counterfeit goods is in the final stages of legislation, according to the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Here's Alex Mwangi with more on what KEBS is doing to rid the country of substandard goods which pose a health risk to citizens.
Early this year, the government enforced a policy that was meant to have come into force over a decade ago. The Pre-Export Verification of Conformity to Standards (PVOC), which compels importers to subject their cargo to a standards inspection in their country of origin, had been initiated way back in 2005, but was actualized in January this year.
That has been a big success since we enhanced that. We've seen a lot of rejected goods that have not now been able to come to Kenya because when they were inspected abroad, they did not meet our requirements, so they have just been held there, and that is our objective.
Besides denying the government much-needed revenue, substandard goods are a health risk to citizens. The Kenya Bureau of Standards is keen to see to it that the current act, which oversees standards in the country that dates back to 1974, becomes robust enough to deal with unscrupulous traders through its review.
When you think about some of the fines in the 74 Act, for a serious offense, 5,000 shillings. Well, that doesn't make sense in this day and age. And so the process is at its tail end as we speak.
When one contravenes the Standards Act, it's also what happens to the goods. They should be forfeited to the state and be subjected to destruction so that we can deter people that want to continue trading in substandard products.
The issue of standards for manufactured goods is a dynamic one, and as such, the Kenya Bureau of Standards needs to constantly keep engaging with members of the public as well as stakeholders such as small and medium enterprises.
That segment of the economy forms the bulk of our players. So we need to go out more, educate them how they can be able to detect substandard goods even as they source them, to avoid a lot of economic loss.
There is so much unknown about standards, and especially international standards, and what they do and how they can be able to help. I want to see standards being used, for instance, for SMEs in terms of as a strategy rather than as a compliance tool.
A multi-agency team comprised of, among others, KEBS, the Kenya Revenue Authority and the Anti-Counterfeit Agency, is seeking to reduce the level of illicit, substandard and counterfeit goods in the country through a concerted approach. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
Deputy President William Ruto has called for concerted efforts to protect and preserve the country's water catchment areas. Ruto said encroachment into the water catchment areas has led to the drying up of most rivers in the country, putting many lives at risk. The DP asked all the agencies responsible for the management of water catchment areas to come up with a clear roadmap on how to protect such areas besides enhancing the country's forest cover. Speaking during the official opening of the 3rd Water Services Providers Association Forum at the Kenyatta International Convention Center on Wednesday, Ruto emphasized the need to protect the environment by all means. Water and Irrigation CS Simon Chelugui said the government will construct large dams to enhance water security for domestic, industrial and agricultural needs.
It's the responsibility of the county governments to provide water. However, the WSP is regulated nationally. What we are seeking, Your Excellency, is support from 2 levels of government so that government can achieve her agenda quicker.
The Ministry of Water will continue to undertake the reforms, and as I speak today, Your Excellency, we have already operationalized all the institutions as per the Water Act 2016. And on Friday, we should be able to operationalize the water works agencies.
The environment remains the bedrock of our development. Every sector of our economy depends on it, and it remains vital in its own right.
Speaking of agriculture, governors are calling upon the national government to relinquish all agricultural functions to the devolved units and increase funds to the sector in a bid to increase output in the country. Speaking during a one-day consultative meeting between the Council of Governors and Agriculture CS Mwangi Kunjuri in Mombasa, COG Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya pointed out that some officers in the Agriculture Ministry are still clinging on to devolved functions like operations of the National Cereals and Produce Board, the Kenya Dairy Board, the Agriculture and Food Authority functions, as well as administration of the farmers' input subsidy, tasks that can be handled by the counties.
We need to support governance at the county level, give them enough funds to advance their agriculture. That at the national level, we need to set monies enough to support agriculture. Because there is no way we can be able to revolutionize agriculture. We cannot be able to revitalize agriculture if we do not have resources.
The role of input subsidies should be immediately ceded by the Ministry of Agriculture to counties, along with the attendant resources and funds, as per the Constitution and the legal notice of 137 to 164 of 2013.
54 young people from 10 counties in the country have completed the I Choose Life Africa training that has a target of reaching 1 million youth by 2022 through empowerment. The trainees underwent an intensive 6-month training, and they are each required to mentor 100 young people. NTV's Sharon Baranga reports.
The stage was set at the University of Nairobi to celebrate a group of young people who are about to officially start their leadership journey. They are drawn from various universities in 10 counties. They are the first group to undergo a 6-month intensive training program put together by I Choose Life Africa.
One of the big problems we have in Kenya today is actually the problem of mentorship and lack of role models. About 65% of university students would have done a different course from the one they're doing currently if they had a mentor.
So I want you to be the ones that will move from peer pressure to peer support. I want you to say that. From peer pressure to peer support. Support each other. Don't pressure each other to do the wrong thing. Support each other to do the right thing.
How do we also get to empower the young people that we are working with who are being faced with a myriad of challenges, moving from sexual reproductive health to education, leadership and government, as well as access to employment and economic empowerment.
The program is targeting to empower 1 million youth between the age of 10 and 24 by 2022.
Then those 100 SEALs, when they get trained over a period of 6 months, then they in turn adopt the high schools in the county through the sub-counties. So we break them into groups of about 10, made up of 10 SEALs, and they adopt high schools and they begin mentoring the high school students. Then the high school students, when they are mentored, in turn mentor the primary school students.
We are told every year the government works very hard with the private sector to create about 1 million jobs. However, we are able to create about 850 jobs, according to economic survey last week. 85% of them were from informal sector, small businesses. The more we say there are no jobs, the more there will be any jobs. So I would encourage all of us to say, yes, if there are no jobs, what can I do? When you think that way, you have a solution.
The program started in October last year, and about 1,000 young Kenyans are currently undergoing training which focuses on ways of dealing with health challenges. Recent ICL research shows that 33% of new HIV infections are among the youth, and high teenage pregnancies has increased from 18% to 26% in the last few years. The organization's research also indicates that more than 850,000 children aged between 6 and 17 years are not in school. It also indicates that 30% of the youth believe that corruption is profitable, while 73% are afraid to stand up for what is right, resulting to low engagement and voice on governance affairs. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Have you registered for your Huduma number? Well, so far 28 million Kenyans have registered for the number. And speaking during a Nation Media Group registration event, ICT Principal Secretary Jerome Ochieng urged Kenyans to step out and be registered. Ochieng has stressed that the registration process will not end on the 17th of May as it's a voluntary process, hence it will continue. The event saw Nation Media Group CEO Stephen Gitagama lead staff in registering for the number. This happening with the government having declared the 17th of May as the deadline for the mass registration process. The Huduma number has faced some resistance in the country, with human rights activists going to court in an effort to block the rollout, with one reason is being that it infringes on a citizen's right to privacy. However, the court rules that the process can continue, but with certain conditions.
Huduma registration does not end on 17th. The mass registration is what was actually designed to end on 17th. Thereafter, people will be registering at their respective sub-locations. So the registration process will actually go on.
Well, I would like to thank the ministry for bringing the services closer to us. So our employees now can walk from their desk very near and register and get their Huduma number without wasting any time. So all employees and all Kenyans are encouraged to register as many before the deadline. Let us not wait for the last day, the deadline.
A Mombasa-based businessman has been charged with defrauding Isaac Hussein Hassan 20 million shillings. Muhammad Ali Nur was arraigned in Mombasa before resident magistrate Rita Amai. He is accused of receiving 20 million shillings from Hassan, claiming that he was in a position to supply truck tires. According to the charge sheet, Ali Nur committed the offense on the 24th of April this year at Koja Flats, Bondeni area in Mombasa. The accused denied the charges and was released on a bond of 500,000. The case will be mentioned on the 25th of this month. South African election officials counted ballot papers in the early hours of Thursday, with ANC in the lead with 55% of the vote in the first electoral test of President Cyril Ramaphosa's bid to reinvigorate the ruling party. With just over a fifth of voting districts tallied, the Election Commission put the African National Congress well ahead, with its closest rival, the Democratic Alliance, trailing with a distant 26%. The Economic Freedom Fighters, founded 6 years ago by former ANC youth leader Julius Malema, was sitting at 8%. Election officials said voting had in general progressed smoothly, but that there had been isolated incidents where bad weather, power outages or community protests had caused disruptions. The Electoral Commission said it is investigating 2 potential instances of double voting. Opinion polls suggest that the ANC will again win a majority of the Parliament's 400 seats, but a final tally will be ready by Saturday. The ANC's biggest challengers at the elections are the main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, otherwise known as DA, and the leftist Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF. A panel of 5 judges in Nigeria on Wednesday began hearing a legal challenge by opposition parties to the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari in the February elections. President of the Court of Appeal, Zainab Bulkachua, said 4 petitions had been lodged by opposition parties against the results, in which Buhari was re-elected for a second term with 56% of the vote.
The court will be hearing the matter on a day-to-day basis and has promised to dispense justice without fear or favor, affection or ill will. The judge warned those at the hearing to let the panel do their work. Proceedings in court will not be discussed publicly until a decision is pronounced by the court.
As we gather in this honorable courtroom today, I wish to use this opportunity to reassure Nigerians and friends of Nigeria that the Court of Appeal will work assiduously in accordance and within the dictates of the Constitution.
76-year-old Buhari was re-elected president of Africa's most populous nation and top oil producer after a delayed poll that angered voters. Atiku Abubakar of the main opposition People's Democratic Party (PDP) came second with 41% of the vote. He alleged irregularities, immediately vowing to challenge the sham result. The petition will be heard on May 15th and 16th. The court will then have 180 days to announce its decision. Any appeal would have to be made to the Supreme Court.
We therefore require the maximum cooperation of all the stakeholders, especially from the leaders of the bar. We expect the proceedings to be conducted with decorum, a high sense of responsibility, dedication, patriotism in our quest to arrive at just decisions in all the petitions before us.
Neither Buhari nor Abubakar was in court. Buhari is expected to be sworn in on May 29.
8 militiamen, a police officer and 4 soldiers were killed Wednesday in clashes between security forces and rebels in 2 eastern provinces of the Democratic Republic of Congo. 1 rebel was injured and taken to hospital. Butembo Police Chief Colonel Polo Ngoma said a border policeman was killed by the attackers and had his weapon taken. In neighboring Ituri province, 4 soldiers died in a militia attack on an army location. The 2 provinces rocked by violent insurgency are also battling a fresh Ebola outbreak, which the DRC Health Ministry says has killed more than 1,000 people since August last year. Butembo is considered to be the epicenter of the outbreak, the 10th since Ebola was first identified in then Zaire in 1976. Dozens of armed groups compete for control of eastern DRC's vast deposit of minerals, including gold, diamonds, copper, and coltan. A speech by Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte was briefly disrupted on Wednesday after a cockroach crawled on his shoulder in a campaign rally days before the Philippine elections. A lady came to wipe the insect from the president's shoulder. The president had to temporarily halt his speech after the cockroach was brought to his attention. He then brushed it off his shirt before he apparently stamped on it. It could not be established whether the insect survived or not.
Danaido. Danaido.
Better him than me. Motor vehicle distributor Toyota Kenya has today introduced the 5th generation RAV4 in the Kenyan market. The new model comes with a variety of updates, including a new look, a new engine, and added safety and technology features. The 5th generation RAV4 also comes with a 2.5-litre engine that produces 207 horsepower. The first generation RAV4 debuted in 1994 when body-on-frame 4-wheel drive vehicles were positioned as off-road vehicles.
We can confidently say that the RAV4 has evolved and is ready for everything or anything that we have, especially taking into the consideration that it is one of the leading or market leader in the urban passenger SUV market. We can proudly say that the new RAV4 is indeed evolved and ready for anything that the future holds.
For more on Tottenham's comeback last night, here is Brian Otwal with the sports news.
The Shindana Stars promotion, a grand prize.
Latest in sports, and the Ministry of Sports has pledged to support the national sevens rugby team. This is according to the sports CS Amina Mohammed. However, the support, which is not quantifiable in amount and start date, may be too little too late, as the team is in real danger of relegation from the World Rugby Sevens series.
Oh, no. I mean, these are hiccups, but that in fact, rugby has a very bright future. We want to make sure that the challenges that the Shujaa team faced, right, are not recurrent. Yeah? That as we move forward, this become things of the past. Yeah? And we have a situation that will be sustainable, that will be seamless, that hopefully will be trouble-free. That at the ministry, already even before I came in, the team that is there had already started putting plans in place on how to address the challenges that you face, and especially challenges that have to do with resources. And so there is money now in the sports fund. And so, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to tell you is that the whole country supports you. Right? The whole country supports you. What you have been missing, you will get. Right? What you've been missing, you'll get. And of course, then the expectations from us, right? Yeah, will be very, very high. Yeah? But I know that you can meet those expectations.
To some football, the Kenyan Premier League midweek action continues this afternoon with 4 matches lined up across the country. In the early kickoff at the Awendo Green Stadium, 7th placed Sony Sugar are currently in action against 11th placed KCB. At 3 p.m, bottom of the table Mount Kenya United face Tusker FC in Machakos. At the Afra Stadium in Nakuru, Ulinzi Stars clash with Posta Rangers, and at Sudi Stadium, Nzoia Sugar play Kakamega Homeboys. A win for Homeboys will move them into 4th place above Mathare United, who lost on Wednesday.
To try as much as possible not to concede, because I know I have strikers who can make the goals. So my main concern is to make sure that we keep a clean sheet, and I know we'll get the goals.
I think we've been taking each game at a time. Na sasa focus yetu shift to Nzoia, and I believe with the team spirit, team effort, I think we are going to try and get maximum points from them.
To some European football, Lucas Moura scored a dramatic 96th minute winner to cap an astonishing Tottenham fight back from a 2-0 down against when they face Valencia in the second leg of the Europa League. later in our subsequent bulletins. Olive, back to you.
Thank you, Twal. Looks like Lucas Moura did Tottenham proud with that hat-trick. Well, that's it for NTV at 1. The next news update comes your way on NTV Alasiri, pending any breaking news. Until then, enjoy the rest of our lineup.